Hello everyone, and welcome to this tutorial on how to make a metro map using Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to get straight into it, but there'll be chapters throughout the video if you want to skip any parts that you already know. So, we're going to begin by making a new file in Adobe Illustrator. I usually go for an A4 size with landscape rotation. And you want to set the pixels per inch to be, relatively high, so it's a good resolution. So first off, what we're going to do is we're going to make a circle. So I usually like to start by making some sort of central station. So you're going to go over to the side panel and choose the shape tool. If it's set on rectangle tool already, then hold it down and you can go to ellipse tool so you can make a circle. Now when you're drawing the ellipse, hold shift to make a perfect circle, and then you've got your perfect circle. I'm going to make the outer stroke a bit thicker on this, so when it's selected, go over to properties, go down to appearance and just make the stroke a bit larger. There we go. So we've got our central station there, and next what we're going to do is head over to the pen tool, which is the tool you'll be using most for this, which is the third one down on the left side. Now when you're using the pen tool, you don't want to have any fill within the pen tool, so you're going to go over to this where the colours are, click the box on the white box, and just under there you'll see a little white box with a red stripe through it. Click that and it will set the fill to be nothing because you just want the stroke. And then set the stroke color by double clicking on it. This color picker box will come up. Just choose a color that's bright. I'm going to go for a sort of blue like this. So now you want to draw your first line. Say you've got a north to south line going from the top here to the bottom here, going through this central station. You'll see when I hover this pen tool around, you'll see the pink line pop up, which means that it's aligned with the center of the circle. And you're going to want to do that so that it goes straight through the center of the circle. Now click above it somewhere. So say the line finishes up here. Click up here with the pen tool and you'll see this blue line, and you drag it down until you sort of reach the center. And once you'll see this, this other blue line pop up. Once you've done it, just press escape and you'll exit it, and then you've got your line. Go back to the selection tool and you've got your first line. Now I like to make these usually 4 to 5 thickness, depending on how many lines you have. If you just got, if you're not double tracking them, which we'll come on to later, then say go for around 7 thickness. So then you've got your first line. Now you can see it slightly overlaps the circle there. So we're going to want to go to our layers tab over here, click on the little arrow just there and select the path and just drag it below so that it goes behind the circle. You can see you got your first line there. So that's the basics of how to make the line. If you want the line to continue south, then if you go down to the direct selection tool, which is the white arrow just below the top 1 second down, then click on the blue line, click on the end of it so that you've got that, and it will sort of come up in a slightly darker blue, and then you can drag it out so that the line is longer, and then you've got your first line. Then what I like to do is copy these by using Control or Command C, Command or Control V, and dragging them to the end so you've got the end points of the line. Now that's all well and good for a straight line, but what if the line is curved? So say the line ends over here. What we're going to want to do is click this top one, drag it down, and then we need to make a new line. Or you can just delete the line and draw it again using the pen tool. Then you sort of want to eyeball it so that it's around 45 degrees. This is probably about there, and connect it up. And so now you've got the line, but it doesn't look very good if it's not curved. So go back to your direct selection tool, which is the white arrow, click on this point where the line changes, and this little circle will pop up, and if you hold that and drag it, then it curves the line for you, and then you've got your curved line. Okay, so we've covered curved lines, straight lines. Now we're going to cover lines where there are two tracks going parallel to each other. So say there is another line that goes from this top station through this middle station but ends at a different location down here. So we're going to copy it so that we know where the end point is. Next we're going to select this so that we've got the stroke setup that we want, but then click off of it. So basically what that does is it sets up the fill and stroke combination for when you're drawing your next line with the pen tool. Then I set it to a different color. You basically want to follow more or less the line, and it doesn't matter if there's a white gap at first. So it doesn't matter if it's not perfect at first, because you can alter it later. Now that we've got this, what we're going to do is we're going to try and get rid of this white gap between the two lines, because it doesn't look very good. So you want to just click on each of these anchor points and drag them so that there isn't any white gap between them. You might have to zoom in even further. I use Control or Command plus and minus on the right side of the keyboard, and you just want to keep dragging them until there's no white line. There's no white line between them. Now we've got to do it for this section of the line. So remember, use the white arrow, click on the anchor point, same for when you want to curve it, and sort of zoom in, drag it so there is no white line, but don't overlap them, because then one of the lines will be smaller than the other. Sometimes it might snap into place as well, which is helpful. So now you've got the same line following this part, but it tails off at the end here. You can see this bit, there is a white gap still. That's because we haven't curved that part of the line. So again, just curve it until there isn't any more white gap. The alternate way of doing this is by redrawing the lines so that they're both at an angle and haven't been curved yet, and then it's much easier to not to curve them, because you're not trying to follow the curve that you've already made. Then you want to do the same for the rest of these. And in terms of how much curvature there should be, it's really up to you. It depends what you want it to look like. And then obviously you can see this is still overlapping all of the stations, so we just want to go back over to our layers tab and drag it below all of those ellipses and move some things around as well. So I'm going to move this so that it covers both of the lines. Same with this one. And there we've got two lines, one of them diverges. In terms of fonts, try and use something that is I wouldn't use the default font. You can if you want to. I usually go for something. I've been using this recently. It's called Noiless Sans, which is nice and bold and readable. And I also just recommend just decreasing the tracking between, which is the gap between the letters, just so it's a bit more compact and you can see it much more clearly. The other thing I do is if you've got end stations and stations in between, which we'll come on to in a moment, it's better to have the end stations or the big interchange stations in bold and have stations in between in a thinner font. So for example, you've got all these different weights here. I'd go for regular for normal stations. You can see the difference there. Just so that the main stations stand out a bit more. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to do stations which are not using connector blobs, and to do that we're going to use not the ellipse tool but the rectangle tool. So again, go down to the fifth one down and hold it, go to the rectangle tool, and you're going to want to make just a rectangle like that, about that size. And you can see it's not the colour of either of the lines at the moment. However, what we can do to get that colour is go over to one of the lines, select the line with the black arrow, double click on the stroke, which is the one with the hole in the middle, and then just copy this hex code at the bottom, just copy it, then go back over to this, double click on the fill, which is the one without the hole in the middle, and paste in that hex code, and it will go to that colour. Because what you don't want is to spend ages trying to guess the colour of the line. Then you want to position these so that it fully overlaps the line next to it. Obviously, if it's just to stop on this lower part of the line, it doesn't matter. Like if it was there, it doesn't matter about the overlap of this line, but if you're overlapping it with this line, then you want to fully overlap to this point. Then copy that and do the same process, so go over and copy this hex code, go back and change it, and now you've got these, and you can see because of the layering of these, it does actually overlap at the moment. However, we can fix that by going over to our layers. You can see the yellow ones on top. If we drag that under, then it becomes like that, and then you have your intermediate station. So yeah, there we go. If you have any questions about how to do any of this, please let me know in the comments. Here are some examples of metro maps I've made recently. This one is very complicated. It took me about 4 hours to make, and if you get to that level, then good job. But that's it from me. I hope this was a helpful tutorial, and yeah, thanks for watching.